We back, baby.
We back. 2
My
cents.
God,
Worth
it's
one.
been way too long.
It's been.
And we rebranded, so I don't even remember what this show is anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just
It's
totally
been about
to
a
the
month,
breeze
I
here.
think.
It's been
Maybe.
like 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Like I said, you were in
You think they
Iceland.
forgot about us?
Oh, definitely. Nobody's ever going to listen to this episode. We're starting
Yeah,
back
no.
from fucking square one.
Yeah. We're starting from zero again.
Thankfully, we didn't get set back that far because we weren't that far ahead.
That's true.
So
yeah, it's not like
kinda
we
works
had
out.
like thousands of followers.
God, no. If we did, we'd be fine.
Oh, yeah. We'd have somebody running like a second show while we were on hiatus.
We'd be doing something, but instead, we just left it for 3 weeks.
Yep. Took a break.
And now
I feel like a well-deserved break.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we needed that. Not because of this. This is fantastic. It's because of everything else. But games coming along strong.
Yep.
Last semester of school.
Yep.
And we're finally back podcasting, Nate.
Yep.
It's exactly where I want to be.
Exactly where we want to be.
So why don't you want to be?
Why don't I want to be starting to talk about some basketball?
Exactly.
All right. I kind of have a type with big men. Well, we're going to start nice and easy. We're going to ease into it, I think. We're going to start with the NBA standings.
It's a good spot
because, we got to recap everybody on how it's going.
More importantly, got to recap ourselves.
That's true. Starting the East, I feel like it's a good place to start. The Celtics dominating the East right now. 4.5 games up on second.
6.5 point differential.
Yeah, I thought that they were not going to be good this year. I remember saying that I didn't think they were going to be as good this year that they were last year.
I remember hesitating with that.
Clearly, I was wrong.
As we will be. But this is impressive.
This is impressive. Brooklyn also surprised me.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see them in 2 right now.
Yeah, they're like a legitimate championship contender this season, so that's impressive. Although Kevin Durant did just go down with an injury, so Kyrie Irving's going to have to carry the team on his own until Kevin Durant comes back.
Man, the East, other than Boston's pretty tight in this top half, eh?
The East is actually, like the difference between Indiana and New York, so the 8th seed and the 6th seed, is 2 games.
Wow.
The difference between the 6th seed and the 10th seed is like 5 games.
Damn.
So there's a big, like, anyone could jump any position by winning like 1 or 2 games.
Well, not anyone. There's a few teams here who are very evidently out of it.
Well, yes, Detroit and Charlotte are kind of doing their own thing. Orlando's clawing back into like
worse than Detroit, though.
I don't know.
Like, that doesn't really add up.
Charlotte's been pretty lackluster for. I mean, even though they have LaMelo Ball, like without LaMelo, they're nothing.
Well, I guess, but I think there'd be a little bit more going on. In 2K, they're always a pretty decent team. I don't know.
I mean, that's because LaMelo's like an 87 in 2K.
That is fair.
Yeah, Toronto's not doing great either. That's a little tough to watch. I think we should tank, to be honest. My opinion is we should tank.
Are we not? Because it kind of looks like it when you look at these numbers.
Well, not purposefully.
No,
I think we need to blow it up. I think we need to blow it up at the trade deadline.
What do you think that looks like?
Barnes. We keep Scotty Barnes. We trade Fred VanVleet. We trade Pascal Siakam. We trade OG Anunoby and Gary Trent Jr.
And Gary Trent, eh?
I think Gary Trent and OG Anunoby are the most like sought after guys.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then we pull a Sam Presti. We farm up picks. Honestly, Victor Wembanyama looked kind of good in a Raptors jersey.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So
we speak French. We're fine. I like it.
Exactly. He'll like it here. Anyway, on to the West. That's enough talking about the East.
On to the West. Bring up Wembanyama at some point.
That's true. It's inevitable. Denver and Memphis are half a game apart from each other.
Ooh.
For first. And my favorite thing about this entire standings is the fact that Sacramento is in 4th.
Wow, still maintaining.
The Sacramento Kings
A few games better than the Golden State Warriors.
Yes, which is great.
A few games better than the Minnesota Timberwolves, who just spent how much money?
Too much. I'm ready to go. Far too much. Utah has officially dropped out of playoff numbers. They're in the play-in right now. Which surprisingly, along with the Phoenix Suns, who they're tied with, and the OKC Thunder.
Aren't they tied with the Warriors? And oh no, never mind.
Yeah, look at the game breaks. Look at the win percentage.
Shut up.
Portland and Golden State are tied. Which, I mean, I would probably take Golden State out of those two.
Yeah, I think you have to.
It's hard to, like, they're the champions. They're the reigning champions.
Well, and Golden State's a team too. Like, once they're in, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Once they get in, that's it.
Once they're in, they're fine. Like, they just flip it to like 110, and then
that's what happens when you have like serious star power.
Yeah. But yeah, the whole league's just been surprising this season. Like, well, Phoenix, like said, Phoenix isn't even a playoff team.
Being away from it for so long, it's crazy that everybody just turned it on when we were gone.
Yeah.
And clearly separated like we were expecting they would sooner.
Yeah. Like, it's crazy. 1 and 2 are half a game apart from each other, and then 3 is 4 games from first.
Yeah. It's a big separation.
Like, and then it goes 5.5 and then 7-8.
And I mean, it's the same in both conferences. Like,
it is, yeah. There's just huge gaps.
Like, the end of the playoff field is kind of tight, but the leaders are the leaders, man. It is clear.
It'll be exciting. I think
Denver,
playoffs are going to be really
finals?
good this season.
That'd be weird, but okay.
I think Sacramento could make it to the second round. I'm not even joking.
At this point, sure.
I'm confident they can make it to the second round, which would be huge for Sacramento because not only would they make the playoffs, but they would make it past the first round.
That means, like, they're the biggest free agency player going into the offseason if that happens, right?
That honestly, probably. I don't know.
At that point, you're forcing your front office to do something.
I mean, we could take a look at their contracts right now. All teams, Sacramento. Yeah, their money's on, like.
Wow, Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, a lot of their money's on Harrison Barnes.
Kevin Huerter's got $14.5 million. Holy shit!
Actually, I don't know if they're a big free agency player because they got a lot of guys are locked up.
Sabonis 18.5. Kevin Huerter 14.5. Rashawn Holmes 11.5. De'Aaron Fox 28, and Harrison Barnes almost 18.5.
Harrison Barnes, 21 mil for 4 years though. They got to move him.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, you're going to have to move some of these pieces and go use that money. Like, Rashawn Holmes, you can't.
I like Rashawn Holmes.
I do, but if you're going to try and, like, actually make this a winner, which, in fairness, they're winning with this makeup. They're winning with it. So how much do you, right? I don't know, but I don't know, man.
But at what point do you go all in?
That's what I mean. You have to.
At what point do you just say we're going to get a third star? Because I would argue De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, which we're going to get into later, should both be all-stars this season.
I think that's a bit of a hot take, but I definitely think that they're a solid core piece for this team.
I don't think either of them should be starters, nor do I think either of them are going to be all-stars, but I think both of them should be all-stars.
That gets us back to our whole roster size debate, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that. We got things to say about the All-Star game. So yeah, that's the state of the NBA right now. LA looked like they were on the up, and then they kind of stalled for a bit. Now they're back on the down.
Typical.
The Clippers, on the other hand, the Lakers have been on the down. The Clippers have been on the up. So at least LA has something to cheer for. Well, that depends. If you're a Lakers fan, you're not a Clippers fan. If you're a Clippers fan, you're just depressed. So
I saw a thing the other day that Shea is now a higher overall in PG and Kawhi.
Yeah, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's like a 93 or something like that.
It's hilarious.
Or
But
like
they
a
traded him
92.
away like 3 years ago.
Yeah, and Shea has been amazing since. Like, bro's
literally
a phenomenal
once he
player.
got to OKC, it just happened.
Yeah, they literally just need like that team is a ticking time bomb.
For sure.
That team will inevitably be a contender.
They have
with the way that they're built and the people like Chet Holmgren hasn't played a game yet. Josh Giddey looks
too,
like
with the assets they have, like there's no way for them not to get the power.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't.
Like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a bona fide superstar. He's going to be an all-star this season.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Giddey, give him maybe 2 seasons, he's going to be an all-star.
Shea's the kind of guy who could win all-star MVP too. Like
yeah, he's dropping 37 points per game or whatever. It's stupid. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging one of the craziest stat lines in the league. Oh, sorry, 30 points per game, but 31 points per game.
Nuts.
That's insane. 31 points per game on what is this? 50, 35, 90?
Pretty goddamn good, Nate.
Those are some good numbers right there. And he's only in his 5th season. This is his 4th season with OKC.
I love it.
Ludicrous. Speaking of ludicrous, the whole league is ludicrous right now. For some reason, the league just decided that it should be the norm to drop absurd stat lines.
Yeah, it's been wild.
I have seen nights like I check the stat lines for like almost every single game every night for at least the game highs. And there was a night where I think out of the 6 games played, 5 of them had a 45-point performance.
Like, what is happening?
Like,
it's
like 45 points is you stop being like, oh wow, that's a lot. You're like, oh okay, that's an expectation from a star.
That's
now.
Good.
You're like, oh yeah, he could do better. Oh, it's only 45 on 90% efficiency.
Like, it looks like when you get too far into a 2K sim and the stats start getting broken because of rule changes and shit.
Everyone has decided, okay, I'm going to start playing my career now.
That's exactly what it is. That is
Paolo Banchero is dropping the best rookie year.
The type of stat lines that make it no more fun to play my player careers.
Luka Doncic dropped 60 points. First player, 60 points, 21 rebounds, 10 assists. First player in NBA history to do that.
Crazy.
You're telling me he dropped a 60-point, 20-rebound triple-double? What? He did that, and then Donovan Mitchell dropped
71, 70, or 72.
Yeah, Donovan Mitchell dropped 70-something, 72.
I think I remember seeing, was it Joaquin Noah or somebody was like, we combined for 73 points scored tonight. It's so incredible. He had 1.
Robin Lopez.
Yeah, because you had 1 point.
Yeah, he had 1 point.
So funny.
And the crazy thing is he dropped that the night after Luka dropped 60, 21, 10.
Exactly.
And everyone was just like, okay, so this is how the NBA is now. It's just everyone just accepted, okay, this is how it is now. Last night, Tatum dropped 51 on the Hornets.
Wow.
I think Giannis has a stretch of dropping 40 something. I don't get it. And no one's surprised by this. Everyone's just like, oh yeah, this is normal. This is not normal.
Impressive. You really do have to sit back and think about how incredible this is right now.
Yeah.
The league as a whole has elevated to a whole new level.
Where is it? Yeah, in the month of January, Giannis is averaging only 25, which when you say only 25, it sounds funny because 25 is still good numbers. In December, he was averaging 33. In November, he was averaging 30. In October, he averaged 34.
My God.
And then you go to Luka, who's leading the league in points right now with 34 points per game, he's averaging 32 in the month of January, 35 in the month of December, 32 in the month of November, and 37 in the month of October.
Wow. That's fucked.
He has not played a single game this season where he dropped less than double-digit points.
That's an crazy feat. Like, that's something you really defines you. It's like, you're clearly the guy.
He has not. His worst game was a 15-point, 10-assist game.
That's incredible.
You're telling me your worst game was a 15-point, 10-assist game?
That is so incredible.
I would take a double-double any night from anybody. Like,
that's what I mean. If you have a guy on a like a 2K squad or on a fantasy team, and he puts up like 10 and 15 or 15 and 10, you're ecstatic. You're so happy. It doesn't matter who it is. You're happy. That is incredible. That is crazy that is your low bar. Yeah. That is your minimum.
And I remember when 2K came out, Luka Doncic like almost always wins the MVP.
Yeah.
And he's auvering like 40-point triple doubles, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's so unrealistic."
It's not.
And here he is averaging 34-point triple double this season.
That is so fucking crazy, bro. Because I get mad sometimes when that shit happens, and it's like, I just want it to be realistic. Well, it is.
Well, it turns out it is.
Wow.
That's insane. It's nuts. And then LeBron passed 38,000 points.
Huge.
Last night, I believe. Or 2 days ago or something like that. Him and Kareem are the only people that passed 38,000. There is a crazy stat.
Absolutely pass Kareem very soon.
LeBron James is the youngest player in NBA history to reach 1,000 through 38,000 points.
He did all of them faster than anybody.
All of them. He was the youngest player to reach 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, all the way up to 38,000.
That is one of the crazier sports stats I think I've ever heard.
Imagine having so much longevity to the point where you were on every single major milestone for points. You are the youngest player to do it.
It's so nuts, because that's not just about longevity. That's
also just domination.
Being an absolute dominant freak as soon as you got there.
Like, what?
I think that kind of puts like the GOAT perspective conversation and like the perspective.
And like, you think about it, Luka's already at 8,000.
Wow.
Luka's at 8,000, but LeBron is still the youngest player to reach 1 through 8,000.
Wow, that's nuts.
And everyone's like, Luka's this prodigy. Like, Luka's the youngest player to do every other major milestone, like a 60-point, 21 rebound, 10 assist game.
He's not LeBron though.
He's not LeBron apparently.
That is still so crazy. Wow.
Yeah, that's a wild stat to think about.
I keep thinking, like, in the past few days, like, Bronny's gonna be as good as LeBron, right? And it was gonna be a different style, because
he's gonna be a different style, but I think he's gonna be
as good, right?
I think he's gonna be a little bit worse.
I mean, I think you have to say that safely, but
because like the expectation for it's just unfair for him to be expected to be as good as LeBron.
Like, I will not say he'll be better, because I don't know if anybody can be better. But when it's all said and done in the grand shake of things, I feel like their careers are going to almost match up. They have to be very close.
That's you just brought up a really good point too, though, where you said that I don't think anyone's going to be better than LeBron, because I agree. Because personally, I think once LeBron passes Kareem, he becomes the GOAT.
I think he does.
I think it's hard to argue at that point. Because people are like, oh, he's 4-6 in the finals, but that's still 10 finals.
Exactly. You still have to get
that's still, I think it was 10 consecutive too.
That's more than MJ made it too, right?
MJ was 6-0, so that was
exactly. Yeah, exactly. They're so that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, like, yes, MJ's undefeated in the finals, but LeBron made it to 10 straight.
If LeBron could get one more ring, I think there's absolutely no ammo left for that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Because then it's like, okay, well, he won one less, but he was there 5 more times.
Like, if he got one more ring or won one more MVP, I think
either of those.
I think at that point you literally could not argue it.
Because there's just too much of a separation at that point in so many key attributes and stats and just every aspect. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I never thought in my life that we would get a conclusion on that conversation. It's like
I know, right? I thought it would just live on forever.
That's the conversation.
I thought it would always be like, is it MJ or LeBron forever?
Man, that's.
But
exciting.
I think we're closing in on it's just LeBron.
Fuck, that's so wild.
And last wild thing we have to talk about: highest attendance at any NBA game in history.
A lot of people who couldn't see shit.
Was at the Alamo Dome, where you needed like a telescope to see the court if you were in the like high seats.
Yeah, it's cool, but I could never reasonably go to that.
I think it's cool, and I think it would be cool to be there, just not at the top.
I was happy seeing it on social media. It was good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like the angles were really neat.
Yeah, it was not. It was interesting. It just practically, I don't think that's anything good. I think that was really bad. It's also weird, that like the Spurs get to have the highest attendance.
Yeah, the Spurs get it.
That's what. It's not the Lakers or the Celtics. It's not somebody who like. It doesn't matter how far away I am. I want to see it. No, it's the Spurs. I don't know.
Oh, talking about wild stuff right now. Indiana's currently up on Milwaukee.
Ooh.
Toronto's winning, so that's good.
Who are they playing?
New York.
Oh, interesting.
So, not bad. Oh, now we're down.
I would say we'll see how that shakes out, but not holding out faith on that one.
And Utah is currently beating Minnesota.
Fair enough.
Now, speaking of Utah, segue. That's where the All-Star game is this season.
All right.
And I am here to talk about my All-Stars. Originally, I had just my All-Star starters, but I was like, no, that's not enough.
That's boring.
So we're going to go a little bit more. We're going to do the reserves too, and then I'm going to talk about some snubs who I think deserve a spot but won't get it. Should I start in the East or the West? Which one do you want?
We started East for standings. Let's do West first.
Okay. In the Western Conference, for my forwards, I have LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Lauri Markkanen. Now, I see how Lauri Markkanen could be a questionable forward pick when there's guys like Anthony Davis on the board.
Yep.
But I think just out of hype factor and out of narrative factor, he could make it to being an All-Star.
I really think you're right. I think as a product, I'd like to see that.
I think regardless, he's going to be an All-Star.
I think that's true.
It's hard to argue that Lauri Markkanen is not an All-Star.
He's done too much in Utah for Utah to this point to not have that value.
And I think he's like 5th or 6th in the league in scoring or whatever.
Well, there you go.
Like he's doing great. My guards, I have 2 easy picks. Completely undeniable. Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You could argue Steph Curry instead of Shai.
You really can't, in my opinion.
But I think Shai is just playing on a completely different level right now. I understand that OKC is not doing great, but neither is Golden State.
Exactly.
So that argument is kind of rendered.
It'd be different if Golden State was first in the West.
Yeah. Then maybe I would put Steph over Shai. I do have Steph as my reserve slot, though, alongside Damian Lillard, John Morant, Devin Booker, and Anthony Davis.
All seems very reasonable.
Yeah. There are names on there that I'm sad aren't there. Like on the snub side, I got Zion Williamson, Paul George, De'Aaron Fox, and Domantas Sabonis for the West.
But I think they're all that's again all reasonable. I can see how they would not make it.
Yeah, but maybe Zion could get his way in, but I feel like he's too injured too often.
Yeah, that's what it is for me.
Yeah. On the East side, we got Giannis, KD, Jason Tatum. I know there's a whole talk about between Giannis, KD, Jason, and Joel who gets the starting spots. I think Joel gets put to the reserves.
Really?
Yes, I think it's Giannis, KD, Jason Tatum because I think those are the primary MVP candidates.
I was just gonna say that. I think you're right. I think it's not any fault of Joel's, but
I just think those three are in the MVP talks alongside, like, obviously Luka, but and Jokic. For the guards, we got Donovan Mitchell and Tyrese Halliburton. And now I understand that Tyrese Halliburton may seem weird as a starting spot because Trae Young exists. Trae Young's having a sketchy season, though. And Jaylen Brown is statistically and points-wise doing way better than Tyrese. But Tyrese is on track to be the first Pacer in NBA history to average 20 and 10.
Damn.
And he's currently averaging 20 and 10. Which he's leading the league in assists. And he's like still 20 points per game.
That's really hard to not give.
It's hard to argue that those aren't all-star starters. Which, like, Jaylen Brown, yeah, he's averaging 27 points per game, but he's not averaging nearly as many assists, or like his rebounds are just a little bit higher.
And for his for the position, I want a passer. That's the goal.
Donovan Mitchell's your scorer. Tyrese Halliburton's your passer. And then you have Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, we play like the NBA does, like schoolyard picking, but same idea. So in my reserves, as I mentioned, I got Joel Embiid, Trae Young, Jaylen Brown, and then I also have Darius Garland and Pascal Siakam. And the Pascal argument, the argument I have is that as individually, Pascal is having an all-star season because, like, he is an all-NBA caliber player.
Really?
And most of the argument, well, I mean, he's done it twice.
Well, I know, but I thought his play was down this year.
It's a little bit down, but like, he's still performing, in my opinion, at an all-star level. And a lot of the argument is that the Raptors aren't winning. But like, then you ask
again. But then I think that shouldn't be weighted so heavily in an all-star selection. I do. Well, because that's what I'm saying. Kind of a cop-out most of the time.
If you're saying that Pascal shouldn't be an all-star because the Raptors are losing, then tell me Shea shouldn't be an all-star.
Exactly.
Like, try to convince me that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander isn't an all-star this season. Which is completely impossible. You can't do that. Like, he's probably, arguably, behind Luka, he's the best guard in the West.
In maybe my mind, it would take you out of MVP front running. It doesn't take you out of all-star shit.
Yeah, I think it's an MVP argument, not an all-star argument. In the East, for snubs, I got a lot, actually. Kyrie Irving, Jalen Brunson, DeMar DeRozan, Kristaps Porzingis, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Bradley Beal.
Yeah, those are all tough ones.
I think I can make an argument for each one of those to replace somebody in the Eastern Conference. But I think it's very tough
Jalen Brunson, I think, is the toughest one for me to rationale, but just maybe Bradley Beal. But everybody else, I think I'm on your page.
Because I think Kristaps is having a really good season this season. I think it's super underrated because he's playing, like, Kuzma and Beal are making more noise.
Yeah.
But Kristaps is quietly having a terrific season on the Wizards.
It's also a very, like,
a huge factor.
4 or 5 years ago, I don't think I ever would have had this anticipation for this Wizards team roster makeup. It's
Kuzma, Porzingis, and Bradley Beal. I would have been like, oh, that's not very good.
Like, but if you heard that when all those guys were kind of first, well, not, I guess except for Bradley Beal, when they were coming into the league, you'd be like, oh, things have gone real wrong for everybody involved in this
Something weird happened in Washington. You got a guy who's constantly injured but calls himself the unicorn, which, I mean, he is the unicorn. I agree.
Yeah.
But, and then you have Kuzma, who's Kuzma.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's better obviously now. Kuzma is actually a really solid power forward now. But when he was on the Lakers, he wasn't great.
No.
And then last thing I want to talk about for the NBA was just a little talk about the MVP race. I don't have Jason Tatum listed on here. I'm going to add him right now. But Luka, Jokic, Giannis, KD, Jason Tatum. I think this is the tightest MVP race we've had in recent history.
I think it's hard to argue that point, yeah.
Because I could argue a case for all 5 of these players.
Yeah, and all of them make 100% sense.
And all of them you would agree with.
Exactly. I don't know how they're going to end up separating themselves here. Somebody's really going to have to take a step, or other guys.
There's no shot they're running like the only time they ever did a co-award was like a co-rookie of the year, I believe. And then that was it. It was because they did a rookie of the year because they really couldn't decide on who the better rookie was.
Who's that for?
But like let me see. It was there's only 3 in history. Let's take a look. There's one that I know. Okay, so one of them is Dave Cowens and Jeff Petrie in 1970.
Okay.
Dave Cowens I know. I don't know the other guy.
I thought I heard of Jeff Petrie.
94, Grant Hill and Jason Kidd both won it. That was the one that I did know. And then 1999, 2000, Elton Brand and Steve Francis won co.
Steve Francis, it's not what I would have pulled from that.
I mean, he was good in like when he was young.
Elton Brand, like that kid.
Elton Brand, that's a name.
That's a name, but interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So, but there's never been a co-MVP, and justifiably so, because that's a little weird.
How do you even call it the MVP if there's a co?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know who I would give it to right now. I'd probably give it to either Luka or Jokic. I know Jokic is probably not going to get it because of voters fatigue.
Yeah, I think that's what does it, and I think that's maybe what gives Luka an edge.
Yeah, right now, but like when you're talking about the most valuable player, like you remove Jokic from the Nuggets, and they're a bottom feeding team.
Yeah, absolutely.
You remove Luka from the Mavs, they're still slightly competent, but like Luka does do pretty much everything for the Mavs.
Exactly.
But and then it's hard for the teams in the East to make that same argument though.
Why is that?
You take Giannis off the Bucks, they're a playoff team.
Yeah, that's.
You take KD off the Nets, they're a playoff team. You take Jason Tatum off the Celtics, they're a playoff team.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you have a good point.
But yeah, you take Luka and Jokic off of their teams.
I think you just convinced me Luka's the MVP. I don't know, man.
I think personally, I think Luka's the MVP.
Well, you're doing a good job fighting for him.
I'm glad I can make a good debate.
Well, shout out. Maybe he'll get you your own set of his shoes with your own colorway, like you did for Jason Kidd.
Maybe. Anyway, should we move on to some NHL news?
Absolutely. Tell me about some hockey. Tired of seeing that Sidney Crosby commercial for Tim Hortons, to be honest.
I got my eye on the 3 of you guys. You pull one thing, you're out of this game. Now I run a clean game here. I have any trouble, I'll suspend you. I'm listening to a fucking song!
We'll go back to the Eastern Conference because, you know what? We'll do a flip-flop. We'll do one division.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so in the Met, Carolina's on top now. I think it was New Jersey when we left off.
I believe.
I think Carolina's at the top of the Met.
It was New Jersey, and they looked unbeatable. Like I said, every time that I checked them, they were kicking the shit out of Canadian teams.
And now they're on a 4-game win streak, so they're probably clawing their way back up.
More than Arizona can probably say this year.
Yeah. At the bottom, you still got Columbus, Philly. Johnny Gaudreau's having a real rough time out there in Columbus. Ohio's a little different than Alberta, but not that much different.
That whole Flames contract, free agent, whole off-season situation was real hairy for everybody involved, I felt like. And I think Johnny might have some regrets. Probably not. He's getting paid real well, but.
Yeah, true. All right. Let's go off to the West real quick in the Central. Winnipeg, Dallas. They're still playing their little game of musical chairs, but they kicked Colorado off the chair. And now Minnesota's taking that spot. Colorado's still in 4th, though, so it's not like they're out. They just got a little bit of work to do.
A pretty fucking good division.
This is a good division. I think if you're gonna watch hockey, watch the Central. Maybe don't watch Arizona and Chicago.
I would say I'm surprised to see Chicago's worse than Arizona now. I didn't think that could happen.
It's by a lot too. If you look at like goals,
it really has fucking collapsed in Chicago.
I mean, Arizona's on a 9-game losing streak, so I guess we can't really talk about collapsing. But
no, I guess.
But Chicago has the same amount of points that they do losses. You never want to see that.
That's so bad.
You never want to see that.
Oh.
So yeah, I think if you're gonna watch hockey, watch the Central. Just don't watch Arizona or Chicago unless Arizona's playing Chicago.
Then you can watch a horrible game.
Definitely watch it.
You'll never remember anybody who plays there.
Oh, definitely not. I remember who used to play in Chicago when they were great.
Yeah, I remember. I remember Shane Doan when he played in Arizona. Yeah, my best friend's favorite team is Chicago, and I remember his little kids when they were winning all their Stanley Cups and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, it's like the greatest hockey team ever assembled, and within a few years, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's a little tough right now. Johnny Taves is still there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Kane and Taves are still there, and I think, aren't they? Maybe, probably, hopefully.
Someone will have to fact check that one for us.
This is why we need other people.
This is why we need staff. Unpaid staff.
Unpaid staff. My favorite.
In the Atlantic, Boston has 5 losses. Well,
I see that.
9 if you count OT losses.
Which
it's still less than 10.
Yeah. Any way you cut it, they haven't lost.
It's still
10
single
games.
digits. Like
that's fucked, man. Every year, Boston is just so good. I don't get it.
Like in their last 10, they're 7-1-2. Montreal, my Habs are struggling down there.
Definitely, they are. Absolutely.
But it's kind of funny. Like I would argue, 4 through 8 are super close. And then you have
it really is.
Toronto and Tampa who are fighting between each other
by a grand total of like 3-ish wins.
Yeah, and then Boston's just sitting on top, like, oh hey guys. Didn't realize there were other people. Didn't realize there were other people in my division.
At least Toronto and Tampa are kind of like head above everybody in the rest of it.
Yeah, and then it's like Florida, Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa, Montreal are just kind of
a toss-up,
slapping each other. Just hoping that one of them comes out on top.
Your hockey team sucks, but your football team's doing well. So.
My football team's doing pretty good.
And they just signed Nathan Rourke from the CFL to come be the backup for Trevor Lawrence. So
yeah, did you see that Trevor Lawrence went to the Waffle House to celebrate?
I did. I'm surprised his nose fit in the door, but yeah, he got in there and had some really shitty fucking food. That's what I want to know. How did the Jacksonville training staff let him even go in there? Like, are you kidding? You're a prime athlete. You're not eating that shit.
No, definitely not.
I don't know. Their coach was just bumping and grinding on some young ladies not too long ago. I don't think that organization has it all the way together.
Yeah, not necessarily. That's okay. You know who does have it together? The NHL expansion teams.
Oh, absolutely. Look at this.
Vegas and Seattle. Seattle's on an 8-game win streak.
Fuck, that's awesome.
They're topping their division. Like, I never thought. It's weird to see, like, I feel like hockey is one of the only sports where an expansion team comes in and they're, like, good.
I know. I find it really funny that we have been, I'm starting to have this manipulated view of expansion teams where you're supposed to come in and win right away.
Yeah.
Like, that's now Vegas an expectation in my head.
And Seattle
they almost won me a lot of money in my fucking hockey
Seattle's second year. This is like Seattle's second year in the league.
Is it?
And they're top 2 in their division.
I thought it was their
maybe
first
third. Maybe third. No. I think it's their second. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't pay that attention to. I really don't like the Kraken as much as I thought I would. Like, their logo pisses me off and stuff. But
they're currently down on the Lightning right now, so maybe that win streak is.
Hey man, don't count them out.
Founded in 2018? That seems incorrect.
They might have been founded then, but that wasn't their inaugural season. For sure.
Their inaugural season, 100%. Let's take a look at their stats or something. Oh, they're not very organized. Okay, yeah, this is their
Nate's
second
a
season.
spreadsheet database guy. You got to
This is
really
their second. This
pull
is
your
their
weight
second
here.
season.
Okay. Well, that
Yeah,
shows you how much I care about Seattle. I really don't, is what I'm trying to say. But it's good that they're
maybe you
winning.
should start caring.
I
You're starting to
enjoy when teams who aren't supposed to win because it makes everybody else way more interesting.
start caring because soon there's going to be a Seattle NBA team too.
Caring. Well, then it won't be the Sonics, but it'll be the Sonics, and that's fine. I'm okay with that.
It won't be the Sonics, but it will be the Sonics.
I'm not calling them anything but the Sonics. Sorry.
That's fair. That's fair. And lastly, we should probably cover. I don't want to botch it. I'm gonna take a stab at it. I think it's Gino Odic.
I've heard that name before, and I learned how to say it, and I do not remember now, and I feel really bad.
Unfortunately, he passed away at 52. He had. This is probably my favorite thing about him. 137 points, 2,567 penalty minutes.
Absolutely.
605 games played.
Absolutely.
That is a beautiful career stat line to have. I have nothing but respect.
That is true old-time hockey right there, my friend.
Yes, sir. Rest in peace, Gino. And lastly, before we move on to you, because we're really pushing it on time right now.
It's fine.
The FIFA World Cup officially finished during our hiatus.
Absolutely, it did. Everybody except us was already aware of it. Like, everybody's up to date on this.
We're just talking about it at this point because we talk about sports. This is sports. Messi got his first World Cup with Argentina. Well, I guess just his first World Cup period.
They say he's now
in his last
soccer. Like he's just completed soccer now.
Yeah, he finished that. It's not even an any percent at this point. It's just the whole thing. It's full completion.
Done. Yeah, it's over.
He literally beat the sport of soccer.
Anything which is from
wild.
Here
now he's going on to the post-game content where he comes to the MLS.
Yeah, I know. I was really hoping he just comes to the MLS and takes over.
I think he signed with Miami.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't he sign with like Saudi Arabia or something?
No, that's Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he's going to Miami.
That's crazy.
Apparently, they're close to signing a record deal.
Oh, fuck yeah, they will.
They did sign the record deal.
I'm surprised the MLS can afford that, but that's huge.
He turned down David Beckham's club.
I just want to go retire in Miami and play club soccer, which is all this is to me.
Yeah, he's doing post-game content now.
Damn.
He's gone through the credits and everything.
That's fucking great, man. I'm so excited for that.
Congratulations to Lionel Messi for beating soccer. And now we got some football and some baseball to talk about.
Yeah, we do. First, unfortunately, I was going to talk about Ken Block died over our hiatus as well. I don't know if you know who that is, Nathan. Ken Block is he's a pro sports guy. He's a driver. If you ever look up Hoonigan's Gymkhana series, it's fantastic. It's him. He died in a snowmobile accident in Park City, Utah. It was weird. I follow him on Instagram, and he was like posting for a few days while he was there. They were like cleaning stuff up, the machinery, going out on the sleds, doing stuff, and then it was just like, oh, he died. Oh, it really came out of nowhere. It's really sad. So condolences there. That's a true automotive legend. Gone too soon for sure. NFL wise, all kinds of stuff happening. We are way back here again. I was watching playoff football yesterday, and I guess maybe if you want, Nate, you can look up the current playoff picture.
I will go pull it up right now.
Titans fired their GM, John Robinson. The Rams claimed Baker Mayfield, and we all saw how that played out in the end of the season. Deebo Samuel had a leg injury that took him out for the rest of the year. Cowboys signed T.Y. Hilton. Bills signed Cole Beasley back, who caught a touchdown in their game yesterday, I watched. Kyler Murray tore his ACL. That was a pretty bad one. And the Vikings clinched the AFC North with the largest comeback in NFL history. Matt Ryan is cursed for sure, only to get beaten by the Giants for their once a decade run into the Super Bowl. This is also sad too. I was reading a book called Three Bricks Shy of a Load, and it's about the 1972 Pittsburgh Steelers, and then it kind of goes on once they start winning and turn into the dynasty that they were in the 70s. Hall of Famer running back for those Steelers, Franco Harris, passed away. I was literally reading the book on vacation on the beach, whatever, when I saw this come up. So that was sad. Ronnie Hillman passes away as well, another great player. Broncos fired Nate Hackett. J.J. Watt retired. DeMar Hamlin collapsed on the field, had CPR administered to him, was sent to the hospital, and since been released. The Bears get the first overall pick in the draft. The Texans fired Lovie Smith, and then their GM stepped down, I believe. No, it was the Cardinals. They fired Cliff Kingsbury, and then Steve Keem stepped down, and the Ravens signed Roquan Smith to a 5-year, $100 million extension. So, short of the playoffs, the NFL had a pretty insane finish to the year. A lot of stories in there. Now we get to talk about
the single greatest playoff game in NFL history.
I don't know if I'd go that far, Nate.
The single greatest comeback.
I think I'd chill.
The best comeback in NFL history.
They're gonna get bounced in the next round, so it doesn't matter.
Let me enjoy this.
Okay, let me know what the standings are like right now, because I watched the Miami game. It was great. The Bills-Miami game was a phenomenal football game.
Buffalo now plays Cincinnati because Cincinnati beat Baltimore.
I was surprised
Jacksonville
that
with the greatest comeback in NFL history. They got to play Kansas City though, so that's not going to go well.
So yeah, you're a little in trouble, you know.
Yeah, so that's why I said let me enjoy this.
I don't know, man. I'm amped up for the Bills-Chiefs Super Bowl. I'm real excited for that.
And then the Giants play the Eagles, which that's going to suck for the Giants unless they just, I mean, they've already done one upset. They might as well go for a second. And the 49ers are either going to play, I'm assuming Dallas or Tampa.
I think the Eagles kick the shit out of the Giants, right? That's probably what happens there.
I'm assuming the Eagles are just going to walk all over the Giants.
They have to. They're way too good of a team not to.
And then the Buccaneers or the Cowboys are going to play the 49ers.
Whoever goes up against the 49ers is in for a fucking fight, too.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Brady's Tom Brady, so maybe he'll make some magic happen. He's a little old, though.
Kyle Shanahan, man. That offense. I'm telling you. College football, Nate. College football. I said at the beginning of this that I was going to be a Georgia fan. Lo and behold, they kicked the shit out of TCU 65-7 to totally embarrass them and become the first back-to-back national champs in 11 years. Mike Leach passed away as well, an all-time coaching great. Cincinnati hired Scott Satterfield. Louisville hired Jeff Brom. Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback, won the Heisman. Another great name. Navy fires Ken Niumatalo, I think. Niumatalo? Probably.
Niumatalo? Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Purdue hires Ryan Walters. Navy hired Brian Newberry. Devin Leary transferred to Kentucky. JT Daniels transferred to Rice. Graham Mertz transferred to Florida. Travis Hunter transferred to Colorado. My favorite, DJ Uiagalelei, transfers to Oregon State. And Sam Hartman transferred to Notre Dame. And then we do have the underclassmen declaring, which is, as a football fan, normally a pretty big interest. I'm not enough of a football fan to totally get it, but I did have a little leaf through here. And there's a few 5-star guys. Will Anderson, an edge from Alabama, number 5 overall, number 5 wide defensive end or something. There's some guys here. Keyshawn Boot, a wide receiver out of LSU. Brian Brees, a defensive lineman out of Clemson. Jalen Carter out of Georgia, another lineman. I mean, there's some good underclassmen that are declaring, and I think there always is.
Every single time.
So I always like to see that. I'm excited to watch the NFL draft. I really enjoy watching most of the drafts. I find them entertaining. If a little mind numbing, they're pretty entertaining.
We'll have to do an NBA watch party.
Oh, we should. The XFL rules had been released as well, and I was gonna go over them because the XFL is famous and fun because of its rules. Some of the big ones: 35-second play clock, 3 overtime scoring rounds per team, 3 timeouts per half, and in the fourth quarter, there's an onside kick alternative. It's the option to keep the ball with 4th and 15. Um, I really would recommend going and looking through this and kind of, if you're a football fan, comparing it to the NFL or the CFL because the rules are interesting and they do make the game fun to watch. I am excited to see a few games this year, and I don't think we'll cover them too much at all, but if nothing else, it's entertaining football to watch. And now we get to the big dog, the mother of mothers here.
You trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?
The MLB offseason.
The MLB offseason. I'm grateful that this is so big now because it means that going forward we've got this out of the way. But I do wish we could have done this in pieces. Short of just missing a bunch of content, it's a lot. But we do start off again. I realized we can't take this much time away because we just have to talk about so many people who passed away, and it's really depressing. But
yeah, it is really depressing.
Nate Colbert passed away. If you don't know who Nate Colbert is, he's like one of the greats who didn't get to be a great, sort of like a crazy power hitter for San Diego, but he had back injuries and it really wrecked his career. But by all accounts, a really wonderful person in the game and stuff. So I'm fortunate to hear about that. Something else that kind of hits home a little bit is Liam Hendriks announced that he begins treatment for a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Liam Hendriks is one of the best relief pitchers, closing pitchers in baseball. He's an Aussie. He's hilarious. And he was a J for a good chunk of years there when they were in their 2015 prime type of run. And he's an excellent addition to baseball. He's a great guy. So wishing him all the best as well. Rule 5 draft happened. I would again like to recap this in some extent because there are some interesting names in here, but there's one I want to shout out. The Phillies took a guy named Noah Song. He's a pitcher. He hasn't pitched professionally since 2019. He's currently serving in the Navy, and he's not going to be added to their 40-man. But he's been in the Phillies system and been serving in the Navy for the last few years. So, or sorry, not in the Phillies system. The Phillies have now taken him. I forget where he came from, but it is interesting to see, like, wow, you're not even playing baseball, but you're still a name on a roster. So they want, like, the Rule 19 draft happened too, and I was gonna go into this again because I honestly didn't know this was a thing. This is a bit of a shout out to Jay's News and Info on Instagram. It's the MLB's disaster plan, Nathan. It's called the restocking draft.
Okay.
So basically what it is in the event that an incident occurs in an MLB club's regular season or postseason, where at least 5 players on the club's active list, injured list, paternity list, bereavement list, whatever, are killed, dismembered, or permanently incapacitated. So basically this is if the plane goes down on the way to the game, this is how it works.
The NBA has one too.
Yeah, so under this plan, it's quoted after a reasonable period of mourning, which I don't know what that is. The other 29 clubs jointly agree that, where is it here? Yeah, to contribute 5 players from its MLB active list as of the date of the incident, or 5 players from its reserve list into the restocking draft. So rather than like placing a claim on guys like you would for an expansion, you actively select guys and kick them into the draft pool.
Yeah.
It would include 1 pitcher, 1 infielder, 1 outfielder, and 1 catcher, but only if the club has at least 3 catchers on its MLB active list or reserve list, plus 1 additional player regardless of position, or 2 additional players if the catcher thing doesn't work. If possible, the 5 players made available must include as many players with a minimum of 60 days of MLB service time as of the previous August 31st. And then from that, the disabled club will be permitted to select replacements for the players lost in the disaster. So you can only take the number of players that you lost. No club can lose more than 1 player. Any player with a no trade right is exempt from it. Yada, yada, yada. I just found it really interesting. I'd never heard of this before. And it's obviously something you have to have, but
I think every sport has a disaster draft.
It's pretty interesting. I didn't realize it was a thing, and it's weird and morbid and creepy, but I'm finding them really interesting.
It's really neat though, yeah.
Well, it's just like somebody had to sit down and work out, okay, what happens?
What happens if everybody
that's
dies?
A crazy theoretical to have to mull over and plan for, but it's interesting. The MLB had their draft lottery. The Pirates won the top pick. I think that's back-to-back years for the Pirates. They've had a bunch of top picks recently because they've been horrible, and it's almost time for them to turn around. So I'm hoping some of these guys can start making some noise because the Pirates are an interesting team. After them, it's the Nationals, Tigers, Rangers, Twins, and A's. Joe Musgrove went to Antarctica. I don't know if you saw that, Nathan.
I did not.
I don't remember what it was for. I think it was like.
Oh, was he part of like the Lewis Hamilton and like
possibly?
It was like a bunch of guys that went to Antarctica.
And Landis Sims, a 16-year-old varsity player, baseball player born without hands and feet, went to Antarctica to raise awareness for the Challenged Athletes Foundation. But there is a website, Joe Musgrove in Antarctica. You can go click on it.
Yeah, Lord went apparently.
Really? That you could have gone. You could have.
Lord won 2019. So
dude, you could have view pricing and details. You could go. Holy shit! They departed on November 28th and returned on December 7th. Oh my god! I didn't realize this was a whole thing. It's impressive. Yeah, so it's really impressive. I saw videos on it, and then now I'm kind of looking into it more, but I thought that was really interesting. Trevor Bauer was also reinstated by MLB. They halved his what do you call it? Banishment? His ban?
Yeah.
I think that's horseshit. I think he should have had to ride that out. He was almost instantly DFA'd by the Dodgers, which is just hilarious. I don't know, man. I don't know if front offices are going to sign him. I don't know if somebody's going to.
I think he's going to stick with his YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think that he should just do that. Just go strike out more college chicks or whatever he was doing. Something horrible. Because I don't know. I mean, teams like, the Rangers I've heard, or like the Orioles, like teams that could really use that guy. Maybe.
Or like, I don't know.
But I think if you're them, you just save face and go, that's okay. We don't need that headache.
Yeah.
And then the international free agency has opened up in the last couple of days. I will say international free agency is interesting because you see so many like family members of players or former players in there. You see a lot of other leagues that you're normally not open to. And right now, I found on Spot Track, they have a list of them. Currently, there's 402 players, it looks like, who have been signed. The top one is Ethan Salas from Venezuela. He's a catcher. The Padres signed him for $5.6 million. As far as I know, I think that the limit, the allocated money for teams to spend is $5 million. So the way to go over is to acquire that from other teams in trades. So they got to do that. We can take a look real quick. I can see if they've signed anybody else outside of that. Oh my God. Okay, so there's a bunch, but it's all non-bonus guys, it looks like. But they've signed a ton of players. I was also looking at the Blue Jays because they're my team, and they signed Emmanuel Bonilla. He's an outfielder. They gave him $4.1 million. The only outfielder higher than that, I think, the Yankees signed Brandon Maea. He's from Cuba. They did 4.4 there, but if you look through this list, Nate, you can see a couple Guerreros. I know Juan Soto's younger brother signed in this. Another member of the Cespedes family, Yoyin, I think. Yoyin Cespedes. Obviously you're going to recognize a few names because they're Latin American, but there is tons of sons and brothers and cousins of current players and stuff. So it's interesting to take a leaf through and look at who your team signed. And now we get to, like I said, the mother of mother, the free agency period. I was going to just rattle off all of these. I think, Nate, maybe we'll just talk about the ones that I feel are important.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of names here.
There's a shitload of names. Some of the big ones that I found really stood out, really kind of mattered, really had a storyline. Cubs signed Cody Bellinger, 1 year, $17.5 million. It's basically a few years ago qualifying offer, but as a free agent deal. Big prove it deal. Cubs can totally afford that. I like the roster they're putting together actually too after this offseason. The Giants signed Mitch Haniger to a 3-year, $43.5 million deal. I did a Giants sim during the season, and one of the first moves I made was signing Mitch Haniger to a very similar deal, and it worked out really well. I'm really excited to see him play there. The Yankees signed Aaron Judge to a 9-year, $360 million mega deal. It's the first team in MLB history with 3+ $300 million contracts. How's that for you, Nate?
A lot of money.
The Yankees are just being the Yankees.
We thought the Mets were big.
Well, the Mets are out of their goddamn minds. Steve Cohen should be locked in an asylum. He's dangerous, but we'll get to that as well. Cardinals signed Wilson Contreras to a 5-year, $87.5 million deal, so he's going to a interdivision rival to replace one of the greatest catchers in baseball history. That's going to be really fun, and god damn it, St. Louis stays so fucking good. I don't know how they aren't World Series champs every year. The Red Sox signed Masataka Yoshida. He's 29. He's an outfielder from the Oryx Buffaloes. 5-year, $90 million deal, plus the $15.4 million posting fee, which if you don't know what a posting fee is, do you, Nate?
I do not.
It was a big deal when Ohtani signed. Posting fees are basically how the Japanese league and other leagues were convinced to allow their players to sign in the MLB.
Okay.
It's so that they're not just having their leagues basically picked upon and preyed upon. It's so they're actually benefiting from it. So it works out as these posting fees are negotiated, and if you want to make an offer, you have to basically commit this money now. So if you sign him, then it goes through whatever, and that way those teams are able to actually put it back into their system, continue to develop talent.
Able to get a new player.
Exactly. So it's a way to not just eliminate competing leagues, but actually to use them to your advantage and to allow them to grow as well. The Padres signed Xander Bogaerts to a $280 million 11-year contract, which is absolutely crazy. They're just a team of shortstops now, which is great. But apparently the Blue Jays were very heavy in on Xander Bogaerts. And so that marks 3 years in a row now where they've been on premier shortstops with Francisco Lindor, went to the Rangers, Corey Seager, and now Xander Bogaerts. And Bo, for his arbitration this year, submitted $7.5 million, and the Jays submitted $5 million, and it's going to arbitration, I think. So I've always said Bo's had his mind made up about his MLB path and where he's going, and he turned down offers to be drafted by the Jays. I would assume he knows where he wants to sign his big deal and what he wants. I assume the Jays give it to him at some point here, but it's starting to look a little hairy with that situation, and the fact that we keep missing out on these huge shortstops. I'm hoping this doesn't come back to all bite us in like a year or two window. One thing I'm glad the Jays didn't do and the Mets did was sign Brandon Nimmo to an 8-year, $162 million contract. I don't think he was totally going to be worth what he got paid, and I wanted them to sign him. But from early on, it was clear that he was going to get a bag. The Mets also signed Kodai Senga, who was the top pitcher in the international free agency here, coming from another league. Player available to a 5-year, $75 million deal. Again, heavily linked to the Blue Jays. Didn't come true. Sean Murphy was traded to Atlanta in a 3-team trade, with Wilson Contreras' brother William going to Milwaukee. I don't know about this. I get it, kind of, Atlanta. I don't love Sean Murphy, but his skill set is a skill set MLB teams look for. I thought William Contreras was great. I think he's going to develop very well. Sad he's in Milwaukee because I don't really like Milwaukee, but that's fine, whatever. Giants don't sign Carlos Correa to a 13-year, $250 million deal. Yankees signed Carlos Rodon to a 6-year, $162. I wanted him for the Jays so bad. The Cubs signed Dansby Swanson to a 7, $177. Again, huge for the Cubs. I really like the roster they're putting together. The Mets don't sign Carlos Correa to a 12-year, $350 million deal. This is the biggest trade potentially of the offseason for sure. The Blue Jays traded Gabriel Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. to Arizona for Dalton Varsho. We don't have time to get into this, and frankly, I don't know if I have it in me spiritually to get into this anymore. It's a deal. It's a momentous deal. We're hoping it pays off. I'm really excited for Gabby Moreno. He gets to go be the guy. Does kind of make me look like an asshole for buying a Gabby Moreno jersey this year, but I'll take that. That's fine. Lourdes, okay. I feel bad for. I thought when they traded Teo, they were going to keep Lourdes because I thought you'd keep one of them. He'll play his ball in Arizona. I hope he enjoys the hot weather, and he'll hopefully produce well and get a big contract and go where he really wanted to go anyway, because I don't think the Jays were going to pay him. But I love Lourdes. It's my mom's favorite player. I really hope he continues to do well. And I went to Cuba over the break, so I was like, not that I feel like I have any type of connection, and there was less baseball culture evident than I thought there would be. But I don't know. I get it. Cuba's like, it's a big deal there, and I could see why from his family. Like, I really want him to just continue to carry on doing well. The Braves also signed Sean Murphy to a 6-year, $73 million extension with a $15 million option for 2029. So they're continuing to just lock up everybody who's anything to their team on super cheap deals. So good for them. The Red Sox finally extend one of their stars in Rafi Devers, 11 years, $331 million. Yeah, I know, that's nuts. And the day before, they announced that they signed him to a 1-year, $17.5 million extension. And then I saw a quote later on where he said something about, I thought I had to give that like back to the fans, like we've lost so many players. I thought, if this doesn't happen, I want to at least say like, okay, here's that. Like, I don't really know what it meant or what he was trying to get with that, but
yeah,
it doesn't matter in the end at all. And finally, the Twins signed Carlos Correa to a 6-year, $200 million option, or $200 million contract with an option for 4 years and goes to $270 million. So some weird structure. I think the Twins are the silent winner of the Carlos Correa deal. They pulled that deal last year and let him walk, and everybody was like, okay, good on you. Like, you got your production, you did your thing. And then all the chaos broke out. It all fell to shit, and they got him super cheap.
Yeah, he was going somewhere else, and then he wasn't. Then he was going somewhere else, and then he wasn't. Then he was going somewhere else, and he wasn't. Oh my
god, I know.
It was all hinging on his. He was all hinging on his injuries and his physicals, and
I don't know, man. I don't really care what happens to that anymore. I'm just glad we got to see that play out the way it did.
That was funny to watch. As a spectator, it was really funny.
As not a fan of any of those teams, that was fun to watch. But, I mean, there was a lot of money put out this offseason. Overall, free agents were signing for way higher deals than I thought they were. For example, the Jays signed, and I'm not happy with the Jays offseason necessarily, but they signed Kevin Kiermaier, $9 million for 1 season. They signed Chris Bassett, who's going to be like the 4th, 5th guy in the rotation, and who I thought would trick somebody into giving him too much money. 3 years, $63 million. They also went out and got, where is it here? There it is, Brandon Belt, first baseman who played for the Giants forever and is a legend there. signed him to a 1-year deal to be a DH kind of backup platoon first base guy, whatever. 1 year, $9.3 million. And those are guys who are going to get like sparing at bats. They're not going to be an everyday player at all.
Yeah.
And those are just fringe guys. I mean, you look at some of these deals. I mean, where did it go here? Sorry, up at the top. This is what I mean. This list is huge. Taijuan Walker, the Phillies give him 4 years, $72 million. Cubs signed Jameson Taillon, 4 years, $68 million. Kenley Jansen got a 2-year, $32 million deal with the Red Sox. Kenley Jansen's like 36 or 37, something like that. Jose Quintana, 2 years, 26. Even the Athletics gave out some money to Aledmus Diaz. I mean, like, I don't know, man. It was one of the more expensive off seasons I feel like I've seen in a while. I guess it's good for the players. There was something else too. I want to see total money spent by teams. There was a stat I saw put out about MLB spending by team. I might be able to find it here. And it was like the Mets were, even after the Aaron Judge signing in New York, were so head and shoulders above. Yeah, here we go. They signed 10 players. They spent $715 million. That is insane.
That is so much money.
The Yankees signed 4 players and spent 608, which is even crazier.
Yeah, that's nuts. The ratio.
This is after arbitration and stuff too. So this is their off season. I mean, it gets like it goes from the Mets at 715, the Yankees at 610, to the Phillies at 418, the San Diego Padres at 4, and then the Cubs get to 320. Then 255, like it just plummets after that. There's 4 teams this year that spent crazy money, and the Cubs did a lot of rebuilding. The Rangers added their rotation, and everybody else is just like usual business.
Everyone's crazy. Like, this is a normal offseason for us, and the Mets were like, the Mets and the Yankees were
Cohen's like, just throwing money into an incinerator, more, just trying to stoke the fires underneath the dome. I don't know what he's doing. He's a lunatic, but I hope it works. I hope the Mets kick ass. I really do. I don't, but for baseball's sake, I do. I hope they're great. I hope this works.
For the Mets' sake and for baseball's sake.
For my sake, I hope every team except the Blue Jays is an absolute tire fire, because I'm tired of this close loss at the end of the season bullshit. But we'll get to that at another time.
Yep.
Geez, Nate. So I thought comeback episode would be way longer than this.
Me too. But I think both for our sake and for the sake of the viewers,
that was good. It was a good happy. I'm happy. It's a little boring, but maybe next week we can get something similar to the draft we did before we left, which I did look into getting that set up, and it is a nightmare as far as I can tell to create full stock rosters in OOTP. So if anybody knows anything about that, reach out and let me know. But otherwise,
that's on hold. It with an NBA one next week.
Exactly. We can do that, but I've got the other list. I've got my top 10 list set and ready. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Maybe we'll just maybe depending on how much news we have next week, we can just do a draft week.
Oh man, we could do like a 15-minute news recap and then like a 45-minute like 3 draft special.
Yeah, we could do a little draft special.
That would be so fun. Oh my god. Okay. All right. Well, we look forward to that next week. I don't look forward to going and editing this now, but we're getting back.
We need staff, bro.
We need staff. Reach out.
If anyone's willing to work for us, if anyone wants to work for us unpaid, just reach out. We'll take the volunteers.
Excellent. You can get started with some 2 cents worth one merch. That's what we'll get you on. That'll be your first job. And with that, hopefully we are now flooded with applications.
Isn't there that thing where you have to tell people to like it and sometimes comment?
Well, yeah, but they're not going to do that anyway.
They're not going to do it anyway.
I hope they do. I hope they like and comment and share it and tweet at us, which
I don't know. It's like a big YouTuber thing that I know of. So just
yeah, it is. It always feels weird to say, and I don't do it as much as I should. So I'm assuming most people probably aren't going to do it for this. But if you listen to it, I'm happy. So
yeah, if you made it this far, once again, appreciate it. Congratulations.
Go for a walk. Get a beverage into you or something. You deserve some kind of reward.
Maybe we'll see you guys next week.
Hopefully. Bye.